This video brought to you by Cherry Pepsi.
Working on my own Jeep, it should be a Labatt light. All right, hey guys, Ken from All Pro here. So a while back we had the JL in and we did some front lower shock brackets from Metalcloak that kind of just turned and rotated the shocks to make them work a little freer. So today we got some more Metalcloak brackets. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna put these on the rear. These are simply just going to raise the shock up. We can cut off the old shock bracket. Should gain a whole ton of clearance underneath that rear end. So we're gonna unbox these, and I'm pretty sure we sent these out for powder coat is the same as we did on the front. But I've had them sitting in the shop so long, I'm just not sure. I don't remember what all I did. And I did. So we're going to put these new brackets on. They do come zinc plated, typical with all Metalcloak, which is good. We didn't take it off. We didn't sandblast it. We powder coated right over top of it. So it gives it an extra layer of protection there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bolt these on and get them all set up, and that'll allow us to raise the current shocks location up higher, give a little bit higher clearance. We currently have an aftermarket skid plate on there. That kind of like goes where the shock and lower control arm is. We're going to take all that off. I don't know, I might cut it and refab and weld it all back together and put them back on some point, but that could be another video. So, be right back. Definitely got some rash. Okay, so here's the cool little bracket. You can see where the shock mount originally mounted. Now it's going to use the sway bar bolt here. We already enlarged this bolt to 3/8 of an inch. It's going to bolt right there. That being said, and this is not required by Metalcloak by any means whatsoever, I had these powder coated. I cleaned the powder coat off. I cleaned all the factory paint off. I put some weld through primer on here. When I get this tacked or bolted into place, I am going to full length weld this because I know how hard I am on my Jeep. I don't want to catch the bottom of this lip right here when it's mounted. I don't want to catch this and peel it. And I don't know that it's something that's probably easy to do, but if it can be broke, I'll break it. So I'd like to weld that ahead of time. So I put some weld through primer on there. Once I get it welded, I'll spray paint some black on it, throw our bolts in, and this will be all set. So what we're really gaining here, and before I actually bolt this all together and make it permanent, when we're done, we're going to gain over 1.5 inches of ground clearance because I can cut all of this old off. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to cut and ruin where your bolt for your control arm goes. But I can go below that and cut all this all off. So it's really going to gain us a lot of ground clearance. We'll show you that here in just a second. I about used it all. I don't think there's anything left. All right, so here's pretty much what the finished product looks like. We got the mount on. We clearanced this. We did lose our skid plate because of doing this modification. I welded it right here because I just wanted to add the extra support. Metalcloak doesn't tell you that you need to do that, and I'm not telling you that you need to do it either, but it really just stiffens it up, makes it a little bit more rigid setup. Being that we did lose our skid plate, I'm eventually going to take these rough country skid plates that we had on here. I'm going to cut them all apart and then get it put back in here, and then I'll fabricate a tab to kind of bring it up to this and weld it all up. So eventually this will go back on here, and it's going to hug really tight. I'm going to basically cut it all out and fabricate it to shrink it the same amount as we shrunk here. So our shock mounting moved up almost 4 inches. It was way down here. And then we were able to cut a little over 1 3/4 off. And I cut it real high and real tight, probably a little too close, to be honest with you. And the reason I did that is because I knew I wanted to put this skid back in here once I cut all apart and refabricate this skid plate. So we're going to gain a lot of clearance with that, and you can tell. I mean, it's huge. So I mean, just putting my hand here, the bottom of the control arm comes to right about there, and then over here, I mean, you're a whole hand. I was all the way up here, so I mean, we gained a whole lot of clearance. So something to take into consideration when you do this modification is that my shock has effectively gained a lot more stroke compared to what it used to have. So you could run into situations where your brake lines aren't long enough, your sway bar links aren't long enough, or they want to, bind or something of that nature. Your coil spring could want to unseat and come off the axle. There's a lot of things that could really come into play when you do something like this. So if you're running a bolt-on lift kit and it's not engineered for this, you need to be cautious because your shocks are probably going to be a little too long. And they're borderline probably going to be maybe way too long. So if this is something you want to do, it'd be a good time to be a good thing to do when you're already upgrading shocks or doing something of that nature. Your shock travel is definitely going to come into play. You're going to want to flex the suspension out and see if you're going to have any adverse effects that you need to deal with for your situation. I know for my situation, I've already dealt with this. I've already done this. I know I'm pretty good, but I will be testing it tomorrow when we have some daylight. So there's your before and after. And make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. And we got a lot of really cool videos coming up like this. See ya.